Family-owned Gig Harbor Brewing has been making delicious, easy-drinking beers since 2015. Come by one of our tap rooms, the Harbor Tap Room along the waterfront in Gig Harbor, or our Tacoma Tap Room and Brewery on South Tacoma Way in Tacoma. Visit the tap rooms, mention the code word GIGLY, and we'll take $1 off your first pint. For the most up-to-date taproom info, please Google Gig Harbor Brewing or find us on Facebook and Instagram. This is Gig Harbor Brewing founder John Fosberg, and I'll see you in the tap rooms.
I remember that time when we had a last fight. Words were said out of line. They were your words, not mine. Do you ever look back and think about all the things you could have said? Replay them over again inside your head. This is the Revisionary Podcast. Stories of all we would have done in the past. This is the Revisionary Podcast with your host, Juan Carlos. The Revisionary Podcast.
Welcome to Redux, a podcast about music, by a music lover, for music lovers. I'm Van Berryman, math teacher by trade, podcaster by hobby, former radio host and production coordinator, and avid music lover. Step into Redux for deep looks into album reviews with a concise but thorough comparison of an artist's first album to their most recent and their journey to get there. Plus, top 10 lists, best ofs, and other musical inputs to get you through the day. If you like what you hear, drop a follow on Instagram at Redux Podcast and feel free to let me know there what reviews you want to hear. Come along on this journey with me, sit back, and enjoy the ride.
This is the Revisionary Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Revisionary Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Juan Carlos. Honestly, I gotta be honest with y'all. I'm really excited for this week's episode. Well, before I get to that, if this is your first time listening, the way this works is we bring on guests, usually comedians, who tell a nonfiction story about their lives in which they wish things had gone a little bit differently. Afterwards, they give an opportunity to tell the same exact story, except this time they can change any facts or details that they'd like about the story. And honestly, I'm super excited for this episode because this week we have Quinton Jones joining us. And quite honestly, just being frank, Quinton is one of my best friends in comedy. Like he's just, I don't know, like his vibe, his energy. I just love being around him. The dude is hilarious. He makes me laugh every single time we're together. I don't know, like you ever just meet someone and you're like, yeah, I don't know why, but we just get along seamlessly. And that's just what it's been with Quinton. We have a lot of fun together. He's taken me in with open arms, and I just enjoy working with the guy. So I'm really excited that he's agreed to sit down with us today. And, and just giving the opportunity to speak to you. He's always telling me all these crazy stories. So I'm excited to see what he comes up with and how he speaks to us. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you live in the Seattle, Tacoma, Washington area, there's the Gig Harbor Beer Festival, which is going to be on May 14th. And I'm actually going to ask Quinn if he wants to go with me and we can hang out. There's going to be a bunch of live music and a bunch of local breweries are going to come in. And it should be a really fun event. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm sure Quentin will want to come with me and we'll have a good time and just, fly out there and just get the thing going. You can buy tickets on Eventbrite, or you can get tickets at the Gig Harbor beerfest.com. If you do come up, let me know if you're coming and, feel free to say hello. I'd love to meet some of you revisionaries out there. That would be a dope time. And, let me not dilly-dally any further. And without further ado, let me see if I can get Quentin on the line.
Who this?
Oh, hey, Quentin, it's me. It's Juan Carlos.
Why your shit say spam likely?
Bro, is that really how you have my number saved on your phone?
I don't think I had you say it. We talk on Facebook all the time, and it's just, how comics are. We talk on Facebook so much. Like, I know I gave you my number, but you never was like, hey, this is Juan Carlos. It was like spam likely. I don't know what it is.
Well, now you have my number. All right, this is me.
I'm gonna save you.
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. I pulled something at the gym, and when you're over 30, that could be problematic. So as long as I don't move, we're good.
So you know that because you're over 30, you're just out for the week, right? You know that your back is just not gonna work for like the next 2 weeks. That's it. You're done.
That's right. So I gotta get all my skinny side chicks for this weekend. I tell the big ones, hey, I can't do it, baby, because you're
gonna smell like Ben Gay for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's just. Did you ever? There's a video of Kawhi Leonard, the basketball player, and it was just one day after a game. He sits down before an interview. And he's like, "Oh," I related to that on a spiritual level, just like, God damn, just sitting down.
You know what that reminds me of? Why is it okay? So I know you relate to this. Why is it that like older like people of color? I'm just gonna generalize in general. Like older people of color, particularly black people, like as they get older, they make noises when they sit down or get up. It's like at every motion.
They all do. You just hang around mostly people of color, black people.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, I guess so. I was just sitting there. I was like, that is hilarious. That's what my future is gonna learn to sing every time you move?
Yeah. Just yeah. That's. It's just the pain. I'm sure white people do it.
Do they? I don't know.
Like, oh, darling. I don't know.
Leave a comment in the comments below in the section.
What do your grandparents say when they sit down?
Yeah. Anywho, first and foremost, before we get into it, welcome to the Revisionary Podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on.
No problem, man. Yeah, I've got to fit you in my busy Saturday schedule of naps and Xbox. Found some time though.
I know you're a busy man. What have you been up to?
Man, I've been doing a lot. You know, a lot of comics feel like they lost time and lost ground in the pandemic, and I think I kind of still made a way. Like I did New York Comedy Festival not too long ago. I've done Laugh Factory. I'm producing my own show in Seattle that I had you on. I had you on the last one.
Yeah.
Did really well. So I've been doing a lot. So if you're in Seattle, please check out Quinton Jones Presents Funny People. We do it every third Thursday. And that's really been me. That and fake it working. You know, I got a new job. Mm-hmm. So I don't just do comedy anymore. I work for Nordstrom. And really, I just tap the keyboard 8 hours a day. And then I talked to my manager yesterday. He's like, "You're doing great." I'm like, "I am good. I can do this all day."
You know, that I always wondered. I was like, do managers really know what like employees are doing? Because you know how many times I've gotten that comment too. They're like, "Yo, you're doing phenomenal." I'm like, "Really?"
I think everyone's like, "Oh, the manager." They think the manager's like watching over everybody, and maybe in like car shops where in the auto plants where it's like, "Hey, make sure you keep on hammering." But like, I work in tech. They're just like, as long as it gets done eventually. Yeah. He doesn't really care. So the few things he does ask me to do, I do them. Mm-hmm. And I just take as long as possible on them. I'm like, which really they take me like a day, but I'll say, it took me 2 weeks. Yeah.
No, I get that. I will say to that degree too. I was having a conversation with my boss, and he goes, honestly, you work whenever you want. He literally told me, he goes, if you want to take an afternoon off and then do all your work at night, I don't care. As long as it gets done, it doesn't make a difference to me. And I was like, that is great. That is what a bachelor's degree and a master's degree has gotten me. Freedom.
Exactly. You get that freedom. And there's been times where I legitimately have done my job like after spots, or I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not tired. Let me just kind of work and fiddle with this a little bit. So I definitely don't get 8 hours of work a day out of me. That's for sure.
They get a good 4?
I can tell you, it might total like 4.
I figured as much, man. But you know what? You're a smart guy, so 4 hours out of you is probably better than 6 out of most.
Hey, I will take that, absolutely. But not you listeners. You revisionaries, not you guys. You are smart people.
Yeah, you get the full 8 hours. So why don't you tell tell the revisionaries a little bit about yourself and your background and how you grew up and how you got into comedy.
Man, you just asked so many questions that seem like they don't relate at all. So growing up, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. Grew up in the church, raised by my mom. And I say that, and people are like, "Oh, where's your daddy?" Like, my daddy was there, but he just wasn't in the house. Like, I was the outside kid, if anyone can relate to that.
Yeah. Not relate, but I understand it.
he had his people, and my mom was one of his people. But he took care of all his kids, unlike a lot of guys who do that. It's like they don't take care of the outside kids. My dad took care of me. And so I grew up there, grew up in the church. My mom basically raised me to be an engineer because she saw I was smart. And just, I think, especially she has a master's degree. And our generation as millennials, like we were just raised like college or bust. That's kind of how it was. So she was like, my son's smart. Who makes the most money in the shortest amount of time? Engineers. So she always pushed me in engineering programs. So then I ended up going to the University of Michigan, getting my degree from there. And then I started at Microsoft, which moved me to Seattle. So I was at Microsoft about a year, and here's where comedy came in. I would always see like these open mic signs, and I had such a respect for comedy that I wouldn't even try. Because growing up, I would always watch stand-up comedy like Comic View and Def Jam, just really anywhere I could watch stand-up comedy, any stand-up. I just had this high respect for it, and I'm just like, I can't even. I see open mic comedy, I'm like, nope, I can't even do it. Dave Chappelle might be there, like you. It's like, hey, if Dave Chappelle gonna be there, what can I do?
Right.
So, I never tried it, and then one day I'm at a happy hour, and I'm really drunk. And this guy comes up to me, and I was ranting to like some other guys just about how cold it was, because I think that people in Seattle don't know what real cold is. And I'm like, Detroit's so cold it grip your bone and it stays in you for 3 days. I don't know what I was saying. Yeah. But this guy comes up to me who's a comic, Stephen Mays. I don't know if you've met him.
I haven't met him yet.
Yeah, Stephen Mays. He moved to the Bay, but he comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, were you working out a bit? Because that's what comedians do. They work out bits in conversation to see if it's funny. Yeah. And so he's like, hey, were you working out a bit, man? Are you a stand-up comic? And I was like, hell no. And he was like, well, that was funny. Have you ever thought about it? I'm like, no, I couldn't do that. Again, just this respect. Yeah. He's like, well, I'm a comic. I'm hosting this open mic night. Just come to the open mic night, see what you think. And I say, fine. So it was on a Tuesday. And so that Tuesday I go, he's hosting the open mic. And I saw how bad stand-up comedy could be. And no, I remember this vividly. The first guy to go up, it was an open mic, but the first guy to go up ripped it. And then I'm like, oh, damn, everybody's about to be like this. Yeah. Nope. It was... I won't say the venue, but you've been there, and it was bad. It was real bad. It's still, the open mic's still on Tuesday. That's the hint I'll give you. But,
I know where it is.
Bad in there. And so I said, okay, if these guys can go up there and do this, I can do it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And here's the thing. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all something. My friends are humble, so I like to brag for them. You know. What Quinton doesn't tell you in this story is he was afraid that Dave Chappelle would be at the open mic, but this man has shared a stage with Kevin Hart. That's right. Let him know.
I was ready for Kevin. I'm like, let Kevin be here. I wish he'd show up.
I wish he would.
I show Kevin what comedy is.
Yo, Quentin, you know what's gonna happen, right? Someone's gonna listen to this episode right now, and Kevin's gonna be like, "Oh, is that the guy who just applied to be? Was it in Hard in the City or whatever it is?"
He
gonna show me. I'm gonna show him something. But anywho, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Quentin, the stage is yours. Go ahead and tell us your story.
I'll talk about me back in college. Much less confident version of me. And I remember I had three friends. I had three like really close friends in college, and they all chose to join black fraternities. And so I remember when they were getting initiated. I don't know the word you're supposed to use. You can't say pledge in the 22. When they were put, we don't pledge. We just initiate. Violently. I don't know. But
listen, man, it's just an initiation process. It's all ritualistic. It's not bad.
Really, they just taking another class. They taking the class on the history of the fraternity.
Yes.
And I remember that was like a really sad semester for me. I'm like, dang, all my bros are gone, the people I used to hang out with. But once they joined their organizations, I was like so happy to see them. And so this one particular night, my friend who was a Kappa, they were throwing a house party. And he said, hey man, I know I'm busy with Kappa. Come to the house party, come turn up with us. Everything could be cool. And so I'm like, all right. And the black community is small, so most people know me. So I'm in there, but he happened to be the door guy. So I'm just outside chopping it up with him because I haven't seen him in a few months. And so it's a Kappa party, and these three guys show up. It's like a really cocky black dude,
Sure.
Asian guy, white guy.
Okay.
And he comes up to the door, and my friend's like, oh, y'all dudes, so for each of y'all, it's $20. Because that's just how it was in college. Like, hey, dudes got to pay 20, ladies free, that sort of situation. Mm-hmm. And so the big dude, like, steps up to him, and he's like, Greek discount. Mm-hmm. So for people to understand, in black fraternities, it's like if you're Greek and you throw a party, you don't charge other Greeks to get into your party. That's just kind of like a thing that they do. He was like, no, we get the Greek discount. And my friend's like, okay. This is the part of the story where I won't say because I'm going to snitch on some friends in the future part of the story.
Got you. So how about this? Let's do this. For the sake of the continuity of the story, let's give out fake names and fake Greek letters. How's that? So we can keep everything straight.
Campus is cool. So for the sake of this story, we'll just call him Omicron.
Sure.
Since that's making waves. So he was like, hey, I'm an Omicron. And I'm like, I'm an Omicron. My friends are Sigma points at the Asian guy. And I'm like, And then he was like, we were just hoping you would just let our friend in for free off of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. Because I know most of the black people there, he's like, I'm an Omicron. And I'm cool with other Omicrons.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm an Omicron. I'm like, I know most of the Omicrons in this state. Mm-hmm. You ain't one of them in my head.
Yeah.
And so what happens when some Greeks get drunk,
they
say too much about their organization to non-Greek people.
Yeah.
So what they have these things called, any black people who are listening to this story are cringing. Because they don't.
Yeah.
And so, and keep in mind, there's Omicrons in the party too.
Yeah.
So, one of them had told me a way that they identify other Omicrons. And so I'm like, this guy is lying. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, you an Omicron? Me too. Mm-hmm. And so, and I go up to him and I ask him like the Omicron question, the verification. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he's going to be, and in my drunk mind, I'm drunk as hell. I should mind you this. I'm drunk as hell. And I'm like, mind you, I'm like, okay, he's going to fail. And then my friend going to get this $60 because I'm trying to help him get this money. You ain't come here and blah, 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 blah. So I ask him the question and then he responds correctly.
Yeah.
My friend sees the fear in me. He's like, oh, that was the right answer. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, he good, man. Let him in. Go ahead and let him in. And so my friend was like, okay. But then the Omicron comes up to me. He's like, oh, you frat, blah, 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 blah. Start saying all this other stuff and that I can't answer. I know one question. I don't know.
Because you're not in.
I'm not in. I just know one question.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, well, trying to like connect with me and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm screwed. So then my friend, he gets loud. He's like, hey, everybody in the goddamn party right now, or you ain't getting in. Blah, blah, blah. You, all y'all get in the party. And I was like, hey, look here, man. I'm going to calm him down. He talking reckless. I'm going to calm him down. Go and hit the party. I'll see you. It's other frat in there. I'll go in there and get at you. Just tell him Q was outside. And that was the best lie I could have because there's another Omicron named Q that went to the school.
Oh, I see.
He wasn't in there. He was not in there.
Right.
But I think he had just graduated, but people come back and stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, tell him, Q's outside. I'll be right in there. He was like, all right, cool, frat. And, tried to dab me up. I was like, hey, I didn't even I didn't want nothing because they got handshakes too. I didn't want to do anything that required verification. And so everyone gets in there. My friend closes the door and he looks at me. He's like, you should run right now. Because as soon as this Omicron goes in there, sees the other Omicrons, then they hear that their brother, the other Q that's not me, is outside. I'm going to get my ass swiftly.
Yeah.
Because not only did I perpetrate who they are, but I know they secrets. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good at all. And there's about 7 of them in there. He's like, you should run.
Yeah.
And so I think I did like a 6-minute
Wait, hold on. For those of you who listen, I have a lot of love for Quinn, but if you follow him on IG, you'll see what I'm talking about. He spends a lot of time in the gym, but I feel like that's a recent lifestyle change. So I'm guessing that Quentin could not run a 6-minute mile regularly.
No, this was pre any real working out Q. This was freshman, sophomore, junior 15 Q. This was that Q was not agile at all.
So this is 25-minute mile Q is what we're...
Yeah, this is 25-minute mile, and we took a break at the half mile to get a burger Q.
Got you.
Yeah.
So y'all can imagine this man was moving.
I say in this story, I was probably like 310, something like that. Yeah. But a sloppy 310, like not even with no definition.
Yeah.
So that's my story. So yeah.
Oh, that's how it ends.
Yeah, that's how it is. I ran. Yeah, there were no consequences because I didn't see nobody, and I think I stayed home for 2 weeks. I just want this to clear up. Let this whole little fiasco just.
So hold on. So what do you think? So how do you think this was? All right, let's back up here. Was this guy actually in the fraternity? Was he just like from another state? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So as I was telling the story, I forgot key information.
Oh, go ahead. What's the key information?
I went to the University of Michigan.
Yeah.
And before I think to verify his Omicronness, I'm just like, okay. He's like, hey, I'm an Omicron. He's just sitting with me. We was hoping you let our friend in. And I'm like, okay, I don't know you. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, okay, it's summertime too. This is like summertime Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay. And this is like a low key party. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, you're clearly not from Michigan. And so I'm like, what school? And he's like, oh, I go to Fisk.
Never heard of it.
Fisk University is an HBC. I'm going to look it up because you're going to have that one listener that went to Fisk. Like, don't you mess my school up. Yeah. Fisk University is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, I see.
And so you mean to tell me an Omicron from Fisk University shows up with an Asian Sigma and a white guy in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it was like a Thursday. On like a Thursday? Mm-hmm. There's no way. I'm like, there's no way you from Nashville, Tennessee is here in Michigan just because.
Yeah.
How'd you find out about this party? Because this is like 2012. So it was like that weird time point where there was a point where Facebook put all the parties on the internet. Mm-hmm. Then they stopped. This was at this point where it's like you had to know who was throwing the party. Right,
to figure it out.
Yeah, so I'm like, ain't no way no Fisk University Omicron came up in here acting like he knows. Like so that's where the story for me was like, I could charge him and get him out of here. He's trying to get in cheap.
So here's the other thing. Why did you care?
Why did I care? Why did I care? I've never had that question asked me when I told this. Why did you care? I guess because so here's Drunk Q. Drunk Q thought, okay, this guy's coming to my friend's frat, and usually black fraternities throw rent parties. That's why they throw them. They're like, hey, we're going to throw this party. We spend $150 on the cheapest liquor possible, and we're going to make enough to cover the rent for the month. Mm-hmm. So I knew it was most likely a rent party. And so I'm like, okay, you're not going to come in here and try to rob my friends of the chance to make rent.
Okay.
Because he also lives there. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just, I don't know. Part of me always wanted to be Greek because I tried, but my grades was terrible. So I'm like, here, huh?
I'm surprised, but go on.
Oh, no, we can talk about terrible grades. I was too busy partying. We can go into the depths of why my grades are bad if you want to. But I always wanted to, and I was like, hey, this is my moment to do some cool black Greek stuff. Like, that was like my moment. It's kind of like you watch them, so like I can't stroll because they all know I'm not Greek, but I'm like, hey, in this little window where it's just one of my best friends who ain't gonna say nothing, I get to be Greek in this one moment and stand up for some stuff. And yeah, I think that's why.
You just wanted your moment to shine.
I just wanted my moment, man. You
okay.
just want to stroll. You just want to be in the party throwing up the things, you know.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a Greek, and I used to love going to parties and doing our little chants and
what org are you?
We can talk about that off mic.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you know, but I definitely have some Greek letters on me.
Hey, when you felt the power, didn't you feel the power?
I wouldn't call it power, but honestly, I did have a lot of dope memories and a lot of good times, you know what I mean? And it was cool when you walk around campus, you know what I mean? You see your peoples because you see your colors and your letters all over the place, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the distinguishment.
Yeah. But
that's why, and the women attention. Y'all wasn't getting the women in your organization?
I don't know what you're discussing. I spent all my time in the library studying and doing nothing more.
That's right.
You know, I did the best for my education.
Building the cornerstones of the vision.
Of course. You know, I did no such foolishness. But anywho, so why don't we go ahead and jump right back into this? Go ahead, Q. The stage is yours. Go ahead and retell us your story.
Like I said, I had my like 3 friend group people, right? And they all chose to join like black organizations, and so I hadn't seen them for a while, and I'm like, okay, this is the first party where I get to see my friends, right? And so I go out, I see my friend, and so he's outside, he's doing the door, and so we're outside, we're doing the door, and this guy comes up, 3 guys, right? And he comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, Greek discount. And I'm like, okay. So for the people who don't know, I don't know how much do I give all the details again, or do I speed through it?
This is your story. You could be as creative and change whatever you want.
No. So he's like, hey, Greek discount. I go to Fisk. I'm an Omicron. My Asian friend here is a Sigma, and we just hoping you just let our white boy in just because he's with us. 2 out of 3 is good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're Omicron. Okay. And so one of my friends, he was really drunk one day, and he told me how to verify if someone is Omicron or not. And so I was like, I don't believe him. We are in dead of Michigan. And I was like, and first I'm like, what school did you go to? Because I know you're not an Omicron from Michigan. And he's like, oh, I'll go to Fisk. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there's no way your country ass found your way to Michigan with an Asian Sigma and a white guy to this no-name like Wednesday night house party. Like, this was literally like a word-of-mouth house party. This wasn't like a big house party. There's no way you found your way here. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna test your verification. And I did. And he answered the question correctly. I'm like, that's not good. And so he tries to, do all the Omicron verification stuff that I can't answer. So my friend's like, hey, y'all, get into the party right now.
Yeah.
And so he's like, hey, man, I'll see you in there. I was like, cool, man, see you in there. Try to like avoid handshakes and all that. And my friend's like, hey, dog, you should run.
Right.
And I replied, hey, dog, I ain't no bitch. So he was like, hey, man, but they going to come out here expecting the Omicron, and they going to see you, and they know damn well you ain't no Omicron either. I said, let them come. Let them mother sucker come out here and test me.
Right.
Because I keep that thing on me. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I need y'all to know I keep that thing on me. I have no fear. So we outside, maybe like 20 minutes goes by, let some other people in. We sitting there drinking. And I guess eventually that's when he saw the other Omicrons. They had a discussion or whatever. And so 3 of them come out. And they're like, hey, we heard Q was here. Now, my name is Q, but there's another Q that went to the university.
Right.
And so he's like, hey, we heard Q, the Omicron is out here. And it's just me and my homeboy and like some couple other people sitting around. And he's like, hey, we heard he out here. Where he at? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, yeah, we knew he wasn't here because we texted him. He's like, I'm in South Carolina. That's actually a tip to all the stuff. Anyway, he's like, I'm in South Carolina. So the only Q that we know that's on here on the yard is you. You perping. And I said, I didn't perp. I was trying to make sure he didn't lie. He wasn't lying. Because ain't no way his country ass from Tennessee found his way here on a Wednesday. And so they said, we don't appreciate you coming out here perping, and they started to kind of like gang up on me. Like I said, I keep that thing on me.
Yeah.
So I pulled out my samurai sword. That's what I told you. I keep that. And I said, step up. But I'm gonna cut I'm gonna cut that letter off your chest if you do it right now. And so the first guy steps up, and I swipe at him. Mm-hmm. I swipe at him, right? Mm-hmm. And I cut the top letter off his jacket. Mm-hmm. Flies down to the ground. As it slides down to the ground, I slice it up in the air one more time. Yeah. Afro Detroit Hood Samurai up in here.
Go on.
And then I stabbed it. Uh-huh. And I'm like, who's next? Uh-huh. And they said, you know what? You're Omicron now. I was like, all right, that's cool. That works for me. You're Omicron for the night. Do whatever you want. And then we went and did the stroll and all that. It was a great night. Got my ass ate, and it was a great evening overall, actually. Okay. The Omicrons ate my ass. Not a woman. They ate my ass. That was it.
Wait. Hold on. What? I'm gonna need you to clarify that last point.
I'm just adding stuff. We all ate each other's ass, and it was a great day. Yep. And then my teeth got whiter. Actually, I don't know if y'all knew that. You eat ass, you get better. You get more fluoride. There's a lot of fluoride in the ass. That's for all you revisionaries. That's what happens.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Here's a few questions. Do you feel like in some ways do you feel like you felt powerless in your first story?
I did. I think a lot of times people feel powerless because it was honestly a drunken mistake.
Sure.
Probably shouldn't have done it, but yeah, I did because I'm like, there's no way. Because I think I'm like maybe 20, 21, and you said you're great. You know how prideful people are.
Yeah.
In their letters, and there's no way to feel safe when I knew the ass whooping was coming.
Yeah.
And I've seen them fight people before. They jump people, so it's like it ain't even like a 1-on-1. And so yeah, I definitely felt powerless when they weren't trying. You know how people are. We ain't trying to hear all that. You disrespect. You're like, calm down.
Yeah,
calm down. So. Yeah, I definitely felt powerless in that situation.
I only pointed it out because I noticed that your plan was to become the aggressor. You were like, you were like, I'm going to be able to defend myself. By the way, for those of you guys who are listening to the story, you revisionaries out there, I can confirm that Q does in fact own a sword. That was not made up. That is a real thing that he owns.
I do own a sword. It's at my mama's house, but I do own a sword. And I bought it in Spain, and I think that's just the strangest thing about the whole sword situation.
I don't know how you got it over here, but that's a story for another day.
You can pack pretty much anything as long as you check it. You can bring anything anywhere as long as you check it. I've seen people like at the gate in Detroit, they'll have like their gun vest, and they'll take all the ammo out, put their gun in the gun box, and just put it in their regular luggage. You can travel with anything as long as you check it.
Interesting.
Yep.
I did not know that. Well, Lesson
Well,
learned.
I mean, maybe narcotics might be a problem, but like firearms, you can travel with those.
Okay. So some more of the story is I can confirm that is true, that he really does own. So here's the other thing. Now, so what about your you mentioned that you had 3 friend groups that broke up. Why were you outside of the party? Like, why weren't you inside the entire time? Were you just keeping your friend company? Were you just catching up? Like, what walk me through that.
Oh, so I think so. When this happened, it was like fairly early party, and usually when I go, I don't like going out very much, and so I knew that the crush of the week, was not there. So I'm like, there's really no point to me being in there because it's mostly dudes in there, you know, moving around, drinking and strolling. So I'm like, my time is just much better spent with my friend who I haven't really had like an in-depth conversation with in like a long time. So it was just more like, I went to the party more to see him, and I was happy he was he was a Neo. So I knew he would be working the door. That's usually what happens.
Right.
I knew he would be working the door, you know, and so, yeah, it was just like, hey, you out here, you know, you don't have any of your other Kappa brothers, you know, talking about candy canes and stuff. So it was just, it wasn't really a decision. It was just, hey, it's my friend I haven't seen in a while, and all he's doing is collecting money, and he's not the biggest guy either. So I'm like, hey, I can kind of like, if people do try to, you know, call some riffraff, I'm like, hey, nah, it's 20 for you, bruh. Yeah. I've actually had someone say once, they said before they knew me, they saw me, and they said, if I ever got into it with you, ain't no talking, we just shooting. And I was like, no, I don't like that.
What? Bro, didn't you go to like a top 25 university? What kind of chat is that?
No, so what some people do is like I would go to community college in the summer to get like some of the weeder classes out because they're just cheaper and easier. And so the person that told me that was somebody I met at Wayne County Community College, Detroit Community College. So it's a little bit different of an environment in there. So yeah, that's why he was like, ain't no talking, we just shooting with you, bro. I was like, dang, but you cool now. But when I seen you at first, I'm like, that's a big dude. Ain't no talking. So yeah, I mean, like,
what is your life, bro? You know what's funny? I'm gonna tell you something.
Chit chat.
I've been to Detroit, Michigan one time. Yeah. One time. No hate for it. First off, the city itself was beautiful. I was surprised. I was like, oh, this is a real city. You know, because like there are a lot of cities in the U.S. that you drive into and you're like, this is not a real city. This is just a big suburb. I don't care what they say. But like Detroit, like is a real city. Like there's like actual like buildings and like there's a downtown. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a real city. I was thrown off by the People Mover. Like I feel like I was like, that's the name y'all chose? Really? People Mover? Okay. But
yeah, there's worse things in there now, but I'll let you finish.
But my point is, it was also one of the grittiest cities I've ever been to. Like I walked around, it was the first time in my life I was just like, yo, this feels like what it was like growing up in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Like it just feels,
yeah, I'm like, you're from New York.
Yeah, I was like, it had that same like grittiness to it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this feels very much familiar to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Detroit people are some of the best people. I miss my Detroit brethren. But they will catch you slipping. Like a Detroit, like say, you know, especially when the economy was bad and people weren't working, they won't try to hurt you. But if you do some stupid stuff, I feel like Detroit people are like, well, I felt like I had to teach them a lesson. So, say for instance, someone out here in Seattle, a DoorDash driver got his car stolen because he went into a restaurant and left his car on, and someone stole his car while it was running. A Detroit guy would do that. Like, hey, man, he left it running. I felt like he needed to learn that lesson.
No, I feel that.
Detroit people will return your wallet, but the cash is gone. Like, hey, and they'll lie to you, man. Wasn't no cash in it when I found it.
Yeah.
At least you got your ID and your credit cards, you know. But I don't know the cash. You say $400 in there? I ain't seen that, but I got these new J's. You like them?
So hold on. Before I let you go, we have two traditions on this podcast, right? The first is we like to highlight a charity and organization that means something to our guests. Do you have one for us?
Yeah. So the one that's closest to me for obvious reasons after I say it, is the United Negro College Fund. I think they do a great job at identifying people like me who have talent, who are just trying to, be first generation college students and better themselves. So definitely want to highlight what they're doing. It might seem a little mainstream to some of y'all, but they do good work, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, look, it's an important fun. I do think, look, college is not for everyone, and I do want to emphasize that. Like, don't feel the need to cave to societal pressures to go to college. But I feel like if you do want to go to college, this organization does a great job of trying to ensure that dream becomes a reality for a lot of people. So I will co-sign on the support for this system, especially as we're sitting here as two men who are college educated, and had opportunities to reap the benefits of a college education. Now, with that being said, we have a second tradition, right? I didn't tell you about this one because I like to surprise my guests on the mic with it. We like you to tell one childhood story that puts a smile on your face. The first one that comes to mind, like a quick childhood story.
Okay, the one it's a bad story, but it's funny. So I have a younger sister, and we go to the same after school program, and so there was this girl who, like, looking back, she probably had like a little crush on me, and so I'm in 4th grade. My sister's in either 1st grade or kindergarten, I forget. But this little girl is bullying my sister because she likes me, right? And so my sister keeps complaining. And so I'm like, I need to make an example out of this girl to not mess with my sister. And so what I did was, and she had on this black jacket with like a bunch of colors on it. And so I'm like, you look like a fruitcake.
Oh, no.
And I had the dumbest dance because, like, literally I would move my hands like back and forth and clap. I'm like, you look like a fruitcake. Chocolate on the outside, fruit on the inside. Chocolate on the inside. But then all the other little kids hear that, don't know why, but I was so vicious with it. They're like, check it outside, fruit on the inside, check it on the outside.
So they start doing that to this little girl?
Yeah.
Oh my. This is it. This is the moment where I don't make judgment. I'm laughing at the pain of a little kid. We're going to burn for this one.
Some people will call that bullying. I call that a brother defending his sister.
Nah, bro, you def bullied her. You know she's definitely in therapy right now.
I'll put it right there, defending his sister.
She's in therapy right now working this out. Matter of fact, she has never looked at a fruitcake the same ever again. She's like, the pain, the memories, the tears.
He's probably so in shape right now. I show him he was the fruitcake.
Oh my god! Oh, this is great. This is phenomenal.
Right when she goes to the therapy, she goes to a holiday party. Would you like some fruit? Not again!
Oh man! Look, before I let you go, where can the Revisionaries find you?
I try to be consistent on everything, so you can follow me on Instagram, QKill'em, Twitter, QKill'em, Facebook.com, Quinton Jones Comedy, or Facebook.com/QKill'em. OnlyFans, QKill'em. That's a real site. There's nothing on there, but, you know, it's there. I figure I should plug it. But yeah, just follow me mostly on Instagram. Oh, and TikTok, QKill'em. I post a lot of stuff on there trying to go viral. Not really, but we're trying out here. So,
yeah, we're trying.
Yeah, but yeah, just support me on those.
And do you have any last words for our Revisionaries?
I would say make sure that every day you do something to put a smile on your face. Even if it hurts somebody else, it doesn't matter. Screw them. It's about you. You the main character in your story. Not just... But no, do something every day to put a smile on your face. That's my life advice for everybody.
All right. So in that case, I want to say thank you so much for being on the podcast and joining us here. And enjoy the rest of the year. Goodbye. All
right. Yeah. Talk to you later, man. Spam likely.
The Revisionary Podcast.
First and foremost, Quinton is rude and disrespectful. You see what I'm saying? I gave him this grand intro. I'm really excited, and he wants to act like he doesn't know me when I give him a call. Rude. Really rude. But with that being said, I think that it's kind of cool that, you know, he did sit down. And if you don't know anything about Greek culture, I highly, highly recommend you don't do what he did. You should never impersonate a fraternity or, you know, pretend to be part of an organization. And you should definitely not know the secrets of that organization. So just learn from his mistake and don't do that. You know what I mean? He had no business testing anyone out. But whatever. It worked out. He's fine. I guess the statute of limitation on this has clearly passed because, you know, he's gotten past it, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I want to say thank you guys all for listening. And seriously, if you get a chance, check out the Gig Harbor Beer Festival. It's in Gig Harbor in Washington, the state of Washington. It should be a really good time. I'll be there. Come out, say hello. And as always, thank you for listening.
This is the Revisionary Podcast. Stories of what we would have done in the past.
This podcast was brought to you by Gig Harbor Beer Festival. Tickets are now on sale for the 11th annual Gig Harbor Beer Festival, Saturday, May 14th in beautiful Gig Harbor, Washington. Some of your favorite Puget Sound breweries will be pouring their most popular beers at this annual community event. Award-winning Heritage Distillery will be pouring at their very popular Heritage Lounge, and live music throughout the day on the Uptown Gig Harbor Pavilion stage. Tickets are available at Eventbrite, or visit gigharborbeerfestival.com and click on Buy Tickets. See you at the Gig Harbor Beer Festival on Saturday, May 14th. Brought to you in part by Washington State Lottery.